right, Lewis.
So some of the things we're going to talk about today include construction permitting, construction zoning, and the issues associated with permitting and zoning in projects. Construction permitting. So kind of the basics of permitting, construction permits are required for new buildings and changes to existing buildings, whether it be appearance or application. They are regulated by municipality laws, and some of the types of construction permits I'm going to talk about include development, occupancy, and building permits. So development permits. It's a permit which addresses community planning, land use, bylaws, and compatibility. They're usually required to obtain the project's main building permit. Occupancy permits. Occupancy permits ensure the structure's building complies with the city's building code and coordinates with the building inspector, followed by the city and fire inspectors. Building permits. So building permits are the primary and most in-depth permit of the construction process. They address the safety of the building occupant and users through construction plan review and site inspections. Some types of building permits include commercial, residential, family, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Each of these permits include subdivisions which must be signed off before construction begins. Some examples of subdivisions of a commercial building permit include new building, foundation, shell, retaining wall, remodel, tenant finish, construction trailer, demolition, siding, and window placement. Each of these reviews are either building, fire, or both.
Now I'll speak to you about construction zoning. So the definition of zoning is that it's a process that divides land in a city into zones in which certain lands are used or where uses are prohibited or permitted. The purpose of zoning is to segregate uses that are thought to be incompatible. Zoning is also used to prevent new development from interfering with normal living of a community. Zoning promotes health, safety, morals, and general welfare to the community. Zones are defined according to their function, such as commercial, residential, or industrial. Each zone type is subject to specific rules and regulations. Some types of zoning include commercial, residential, industrial, agricultural, and recreational. Zoning ordinance is a written regulation that defines how property in specific geographic zones can be used. Zoning ordinance is the most important thing to worry about when it comes to building, because changes in zoning ordinance can affect what buildings are allowed to be built there in the future.
So there are different issues and challenges that go along with zoning and permitting that every contractor and designer needs to be aware of. So in terms of zoning, a main challenge happens in small towns or areas where commercial and residential zones intersect. If the residents feel that there's going to be a negative impact to the property values, to traffic, small business owners, the local economy, or the local neighborhoods, they're more likely to push back, and sometimes city councils can come on board, and that can have a negative impact on the project altogether. A common example is with Walmart. They can boost the economy in the area, but they're also known to drive out small business owners, and residents might not look favorably upon that. Or if a new football or baseball stadium was being built in the area, that can boost the economy, but can also have a negative impact on traffic and make it really crazy. Or it could increase the crime rate in the local neighborhoods, and that is something that needs to be addressed with residents before the project can continue. The challenges with permitting generally have to do with the different regulations in different areas. So coastal areas they receive a lot of hurricanes, and you have to be aware of the permits that are required to deal with that. Or California, for example, they get earthquakes and wildfires. You have to make sure that the permits that you are receiving, you're completing all of them for the area that you're in. Residents who renovate their own homes, they're responsible for making sure that they have all the proper permits. Or if they don't, they can receive fines, and if a building inspector does not sign off on any of the renovations, that can lead to a decrease in their property values. There are often additional regulations that are imposed after natural or man-made disasters to ensure that buildings are safe. So, for example, if there's a hurricane, lawmakers might notice that there is a lack in the permits that are required. They might impose additional regulations, and designers and contractors need to be aware that they can change at any time. Here is an example of a permit. So contractors and designers are responsible for finding which ones are applicable for their projects and making sure that they are filled out appropriately. Thank you very much for your time.